Well, Barbie month continues with Barbie in the Pink Shoes, a film that really, bugs me on some levels, in a good way, I suppose, because it makes me wonder, who I should side with. Like, should I side with Madame Natasha, who they project as the villain? But at the same time, it's her dance studio, her stage, and it's her recital, and she wants the performers to do dances, in very specific ways. She's like, I want you to do this dance how it's traditionally been done, because I don't want to change the story. I just want it done the way it's always been done. And there's nothing wrong with changing stories. Like, this has nothing to do with basically, the actual Swan Lake story. Beyond there being a swan in a lake. A lot of everything else is basically massively changed as far as I'm aware. So it's got very little in common with its source material. If you want to radically change things, that's fine. But, do it on your own time or when you're doing your own telling. Don't do it on someone else's, stage that they've paid for, because that's kind of rude to do that, at the last minute on the fly. Like, I'm going to just change the entire dance up, to how I feel it should be done. Like, that feels really frustrating. On the other hand, I can understand Kristen's perspective, how she gets into a flow with the music and she just feels like it goes better this way. She wants to dance from her heart, which does go over rather well with the audience, so I suppose it didn't bite her in the butt there, because sometimes stuff like that really can go badly. But at the same time, I suppose you gotta sometimes do the daring things to throw yourself out there to get attention, become really well known in the media, right? So it's a catch-22. Like, do I want to side with the traditionalist that is all about everything being perfectly traditional, or do I want to side with someone that wants to tell these stories in a new way, even if it's not on her dime? Like it's a bit of a tug and pull there, because I can understand both perspectives, because stuff like this is a creative input from multiple people. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess there. I suppose you can argue it's also a bit mixed messaging, because it's also telling girls they should challenge authority even when they may not be in a position to really challenge that authority, because let's face it, the audience for stuff like this is going to be younger girls rather than older ones usually. I'm assuming that, maybe that's a false assumption, because I did meet someone at Goodwill, that was older when I was buying a couple more Barbie movies that popped up that was a fan, and it would probably defend them to death. Though I don't know how recently she's watched any of them, but she did name her cat after the cat from The Princess and the Pauper. So, maybe she's watched them more recently than I realize. So yeah, it's a rather interesting movie, from a moral perspective, I suppose, which is a bit weird to say about a Barbie movie, I have to admit, because they don't usually seem to be all that morally deep. Though they may not really want you thinking about that much, considering they present Madame Natasha as an over-the-top, Ice Queen villain, in the ballet world. Where they do give you some information about, classical ballets that you may not want to know the details about, like the lake the swans are on, being a byproduct of the parents' tears. Is that something I really wanted to know? Not really, because it's pretty damn gross. So I can understand why, they skip over that stuff in Barbie and Swan Lake. Till next time, then. See ya.
Stop! Stop the music! Stop everything! That means you, Kristen!